White Sox fans? It's Tony on Tap and NWI Steve. And if you're wondering why we're here, we're wondering why you're here as well. It's bad. It's very bad in White Sox land. I don't really have much of an intro. I'm just going to turn it to Steve for initial reactions after yet another loss, this time 7-0 at the hands of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Hey, yo. Yep. Same story we've seen for the last 6 games. Nothing positive to talk about. So let's get to the matter at hand. Ken fucking Williams today decided to take a call from Daryl Van Schouwen of the Chicago Sun-Times and decided to come out of his cave.
My pick to click tonight, by the way.
Yeah. I think Daryl probably had a good. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the poutine up in Toronto probably had a good day today. So we're going to have to go to the judges on this one here. But nevertheless, Ken Williams decided to come out of his fucking hole and take a call from Daryl Van Schouwen and give some quotes talking about no one is more disappointed in this start than I am right now. And, we still believe in the talent that is here in this club, and we believe that the tide is going to be turned. And ultimately, there's not an accountability problem here with the White Sox. The fuck there isn't an accountability problem with the White Sox. Are you fucking kidding me? You crawl in your hole for 6 fucking months. You don't come out. You don't say a goddamn word. You send fucking lawyer boy up there every fucking day to just throw out words, but don't really say anything. And then you come out there with this bullshit today. There's no accountability issue within the White Sox organization. I tweeted this earlier. If there wasn't an accountability issue within the White Sox organization, I wouldn't have to read fucking quotes from Ken Williams in 2023. God damn it.
You seem upset. You don't seem like sad Steve right now. You seem like a very upset Steve.
This is just unfucking believable. The absolute gall of this guy to come out here and say this bullshit today is absolutely insulting to the 2 or 3 dozen people that actually give a shit about this team. You want to come in here and you want to say that fucking shit? Get the fuck out of here with that. There's no accountability problem within the White Sox organization. Kiss my fucking ass, you motherfucker.
Hashtag mad online. That's what Steve is right now, and I think we all are. I've got my thoughts on this as well. It's sort of embarrassing to watch. Ken Williams always seems to pick the right times to come out and open his mouth. We've heard this from Rick Hahn before too, that no one's a bigger White Sox fan than Rick Hahn, and he's disappointed. And I sort of ask myself this question. Are they watching the same thing we are, or are these just hollow words? Because we got our guy Sal in here. The White Sox broke Steve. I think that happened a long time ago. Thanks for tuning in, Sal.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know that happened many, many years ago. But, it just feels like hollow words. Today was an all-time embarrassment. And I think it's sort of like up there in like the top 5 days of embarrassing days for the White Sox and the fan base. There's a lot to unpack here. It starts with there's not an accountability problem. And if you're late to tune in here, you missed an epic rant from Steve. You'll have to check out the podcast version of the show as soon as it's available. You've also got, the news of the Pittsburgh Pirates locking up Brian Reynolds to a $100 million contract, which the White Sox have yet to do, making them one of 3 teams in all of Major League Baseball that don't have a guy locked up for $100 million. And, that's not exactly, going to translate to winning a baseball game today. However, there's some arguments to be made that that would have helped this team actually not be in the position that they're in right now. You've got the fact that we're on a 6-game losing streak now. Today's ball game was a complete embarrassment. Nobody showed up to play. Nobody looked like they gave a shit out there. Comical things that we've seen happen over and over in the outfield. You've got Eloy Jimenez in right, Luis Robert in center field, almost colliding not once, but twice. That could have led to injuries. We've got the news that just sort of came out a couple minutes ago. Saw from our guy DVS over at the Yasmani Grandal, back spasms, I believe that we're saying here, day to day now. I said it yesterday. Can things get worse? They absolutely can, and they did. So I don't know where rock bottom is. I don't know if the White Sox organization knows where rock bottom is. We just keep digging. Johnny called it a crater yesterday. It's like a fucking goddamn asteroid just it just crashed into whatever planet this front office is living on.
It's a fucking canyon at this point.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. We've got a canyon here. It's so painful and hard to watch. I've seen White Sox Twitter get mad online before, but I think it was pretty unified today. Nobody was arguing with each other. Maybe you and Ken were, but overall,
fuck him, that fat fuck.
You know, this is bad. It's very bad, and it's also sad, and that's why we have Sad Steve in the house tonight. I've never felt this way about.
He's on the verge of becoming apathetic Anthony.
Close, pretty close to becoming apathetic Anthony. This is the third day in a row I've been on this show, and each day's gotten worse.
It's just an absolute utter embarrassment. The most irritating thing about it, like I said, is when KW comes out and makes those comments. It's like he's insulting the people that actually pay attention and actually give a shit about this team. And it's insulting, because anybody that actually follows this team can see what it is. This thing is broken from the very top all the way down and everywhere in between. The whole thing is completely and utterly broken. You need to get the fucking bulldozers out and just completely start over. But it's not going to happen for an obvious reason that we've all talked about.
And I don't even trust that. I don't even trust that, Steve. My thought process here is, what do you really have that you're going to be able to recoup that was better than the last rebuild, right?
Oh, I'm not talking about that.
Well, you're talking about a front office overhaul.
Oh,
That's
no,
what you're talking
I'm not.
about. You're talking about the owner selling the team. You're talking about all these different things. This is going to be a multi-year problem for the White Sox if they decided to scrap everything and start it over. And the most realistic thing for White Sox fans to sort of think about is, if they do sell off, you're not going to see Rick Hahn or KW get fired before the trade deadline this year. You're stuck in fucking hell. It's not even mired in mediocrity anymore. You're stuck in baseball hell. And I saw Sleepy Harold throw one out there today from the Moneyball quote. You know, there's rich teams, there's poor teams, and there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us. And boy, does that hit home hard if you're a White Sox fan.
The scariest part about this is, if you have your ear to the ground a little bit and you hear some things, there's stuff going around that where Jerry's at with his age right now, that he's not willing to revamp a front office. That's literally the scariest thing you can possibly hear as a Sox fan. I mean, there is, I know we joke about this a lot in the group chat. And in the text.
We joke about this, but Rick Hahn came out and said, if I felt like I was unqualified for this job, what is he watching?
At the end of the day, it's, if there is no movement whatsoever, and I don't expect there to be, there is literally no hope. And there is no worse place to be as a baseball fan that actually gives a shit about your team than to be a fan of a team that gives you no hope.
All right, guys, Sox Insane in here per Bill Veck. We aren't going to hell, Besnick. I think we're already there. I think we're sort of already there. And that's why you can't go somewhere when you're already there. I mean, it sort of follows the same logic that I've heard from the guy sitting right here on the screen next to me. Can you be back if you never left? We're still here.
What can you even say at this point? There is not one positive thing that can be said about what we are witnessing right now. And am I all a part of 5 different decades watching this team? I never for the life of me remember a point, even in the deepest, darkest depths of the rebuild in 2018, the worst team in close to 50 years. It's never felt this hopeless. And that says a lot coming from someone that's a White Sox fan. They're literally on pace right now to have the worst season in the history of the franchise. Think about that.
You told me this before we hopped on these airwaves, and my thought there is, how the hell do you wind up here? How do you wind up in this situation where you're on pace to have the worst season here?
Because again, it just goes to my earlier point that there is just a complete systematic failure across the organization from the very top all the way to the very bottom, and everything in between. Everything is broken. You see this. We joke about it all the time about how they would sign veterans and they would come here and they would just immediately crater. No other team experiences this like the Sox. Jay Kuda put out that tweet earlier comparing Andrew Benintendi last year to this year. Across the board, everything is going the wrong way. Everything. You can't make this shit up. There is something so fundamentally wrong here. And it's like, for all the people out there that said getting rid of Sleepy McDrunk in the dugout was going to automatically fix things. And I tried cautioning people, I tried telling people that while that was an issue, that alone was not going to be the end-all cure-all for this team. People kept saying, "Oh, you got a new manager, new coaching staff coming in. That's gonna fix everything." How's this working out so far?
Well, you and I have agreed to disagree on Tony La Russa for a long time, and we might do that until we're both in a retirement home. Maybe I'll make it there at the same time you're there, if I can catch up to you. But I really want to get into the Pedro Grifol thing here, Steve. How long does this last? How long can you let it last? If you're a serious organization, which the White Sox have proven up until this point that they're not, how long do you let this last? Because you brought in a guy who is a first-year manager. You gave him a shot. You're hearing the same stuff over and over again. It took under a month of baseball to be played for Pedro Grifol to become a meme in the city of Chicago. We're sitting here talking about how many times this guy said, just flush it. Is that the same answer he's going to give today? I didn't hear his post-game press conference. We hopped on here pretty much right after the game finished. But, I'm going to read this one that just came in here. Grifol, this is from the 22nd, so just a few days ago. We're playing hard. We're competing. We had a chance to win both games. We've got a good team. Not going to question anything here. We got a good team. We prepare. We just got to keep doing what we're doing. That's it. You're continuing to do that for the next 3 fucking days. I haven't seen a change. You continue to lose. How long can you let this go on for? And I'm not talking about the same way that people wanted TLR gone or wanted Ricky Renteria gone for some of these other things. But if you are a serious ball club right now, can you pull the rug out from under this and say, hey, we made a mistake on this. We need to let Charlie Montoyo just take the helm. for 5 games and see if that works. Get crazy with it. We talked about, can you just do something crazy here? Maybe his voice is not working in that room. Lance Lynn's out there on Foul Territory TV today saying, we've got a bunch of guys trying to learn something completely new. And I get it. I saw Jordan Lazowski's tweet over at Sox on 35th today. He's trying to erase it's not the time to erase bad habits. That's for rebuilding teams. Our guy Sox and Saints sits there all the time in our group chat, and he says this was meant to be a rebuilding year. Fine, I can understand that. Griffol's a rebuild manager. You're still in your competitive window per your front office, whether or not you like it or not.
Would the front office know what a competitive window is if it bit him in the fucking ass?
I don't know. I don't know if they did or do or what that is. You have to do something here. I don't buy into this. Griffol ain't going anywhere. Hahn hired him for a rebuild. Sox and Saints in here right now. I vehemently disagree with that sort of mentality. If that's the mentality, get the fuck out of here with that. That's fireable in and of itself. And it's like the 30th millionth time that they've done something. And it goes back to the KW. There's no problem with accountability here. Prove it. Griffol, gone tomorrow. You want accountability? Get him the fuck out of here. Leave him in Canada and move on. Because you have to do something. If you're serious, you have to do something. And I know it's still early and all of this nonsense that keeps getting shoved down our throat.
Oh, you mean like the bullshit about how they've had this really difficult schedule to this point, and the schedule.
You're supposed to fucking beat good teams. You're supposed to beat the good teams. That's what you put this fucking roster together for.
You know why? You know why they have this strength of schedule? Because these other teams get to play the White Sox. That's why.
Yeah, and I'm sick of hearing if the schedule is going to lighten up. Guess what? It lightens up for everybody else too. What are we doing?
Literally, fan bases, Pirates on tap or Blue Jays on tap. They're literally looking at the schedule and say, "Oh, the Sox come in. There's 3 wins."
It's fucking embarrassing. From every little thing that gets spewed to you, down to watching, comedic outfield play. We're playing hard. We're competing. Did you see any of that tonight? Did anybody in the comments who's watching this, did you see them compete at all? I didn't.
Looked pretty fucking dead to me.
Yeah, I watched a dead baseball club.
Same fucking story that I've been seeing for, Luis Robert, 3 pitches, sitting his ass on the bench right away. Luis Baez, God forbid he'd take a fucking pitch, and not swing it a goddamn over the top of a breaking ball.
A bit of advice. Log in to whatever betting account that you have as soon as you see the White Sox lineup.
Pound the over on opposition strikeouts.
Pound the over on opposition strikeouts. And the other thing you can do is until Tim Anderson gets back, if you want to make money, bet on Luis Robert striking out in the first at bat. Because it's going to happen. Probably 9 times out of 10. And if you can sit there and do that, and then you hear the comments from Griffol today, how he's not going to, veer away from that strategy. Free money for all of you. It's asinine.
For as much flack as I felt was justified with the predecessor when it came to the lineup construction, this bullshit with having Luis Robert continuing to hit leadoff is just as fucking egregious. I hated it at the start of the fucking season, this idea of Robert in the 2 spot, Benintendi in the 3 spot. I hated it then.
We talked about this at the beginning of the season, in the season preview show.
And it looks absolutely fucking even worse than I possibly imagined.
What do you do here, Steve? What do you do?
I would say that the beatings continue until morale improves.
Said that last night. And Johnny sort of asked me this question. I'll ask it to you. How does the morale improve? Don't you need to win to improve the morale?
It's a chicken versus the egg.
Yeah, that's we arrived on this last night. So if you're hearing this all over again, I mean that
this is
we're all
not
asking
scripted,
ourselves.
by the way, because I was so fucking pissed off. I didn't even listen to the show last night. So this is not scripted in any way.
Crack them. Yeah. I mean, there's our guy Mike. There's no answer here. There really isn't. There is no answer here.
Actually, here's I'll give you an answer. Answer. Sal, our buddy, talked about them possibly not winning a game until they go to Cincinnati. You know what? I was actually scheduled to make a road trip down to Cincinnati to watch this fucking series. So you know how you end it? You fucking cancel that trip. You get on a plane and you go to the opposite side of the fucking country that weekend. That's how you fucking end it.
Deep breaths. Breathing helps. I wonder how many of us are going to wind up on blood pressure medication by the end of the season.
Honestly, I don't know that there will be that many because I think the apathy level is going to just it's if you look on Twitter, and I've long found it hilarious the people that are show their immense fandom by talking about, oh, I haven't watched a game in a week and I feel so much better because of it, as if that's like some fucking
badge of honor
to talk about. I mean, whatever. But that's going to be a legit thing here.
I know. I can see it.
I mean it's just, I used to build my fucking night around making sure that I was in front of the fucking TV for first pitch. Right now, whatever. Because I don't need to see Luis Robert swing at 3 pitches and go back to the dugout.
That's where we're at.
It's awesome. It's a great time. Things are great.
And this goes back to why I say you have to... Baz, Sox Insane, boy, man, if Griffol's your rebuild manager, just pack it in for the next couple of years. There's so many problems right now, and obviously we're being, overly negative tonight, and I feel like it's very justified. This is not something that
you don't want to be overly negative, Anthony.
You don't want to be overly negative. That's bad. You can go find other shows that are not overly negative, but you can stick here with us if you want the truth about how we feel and how we are, living through these emotions as White Sox fans. And if you want authenticity, you can find it here. If you
certificate needed.
No, none. And, that's what I want this show to be. And I think that every host on this show does a really good job of it. So thank you to those that tune into this. That said, Steve, there's, some other things that went on today. And I just saw a comment from our guy Sale that I really wanted to get to this with you because it's pretty hilarious. Man, this is turning into
Sale always knows.
He knows
when to just throw it in there. He knows
where we're going. He definitely knows where we're going. And this is just it. I mean, it could be the White Sox comedy show if you want it to be for the rest of the season. We can continue to do that. Our guy Steve Stone, he's still positive. He's still positive out there. And Bubs and I had an interaction on this show. I don't know if it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, on some Steve Stone stuff.
I don't know if you remember this. I was literally in the middle of you two on screen.
You were in the middle of Buzz and I on screen talking about one Steven Stone. And, today was just another interesting day. And we want to talk about dumpster fires of all dumpster fires within the White Sox organization and White Sox family, if that's a thing at this point. Mr. Steven Stone went on a local radio station earlier today, and one of our starting pitchers, Lance Lynn, went on a podcast today that AJ Pierzynski hosts, Foul Territory TV. And we've talked about that a couple of times on this show. I encourage everybody to go check that out. I think it's excellent baseball content. Lance went on there, talked about some things. Stone went on his radio show, talked about some things. But among those things that Steve Stone talked about, sort of called out Lance Lynn's weight in a very interesting way. And that led to AJ Pierzynski sort of clapping back at Mr. Steven Stone and told him that was a bad take. And if you want to know what he said, our guy Michael's in the comments here, and Stone said Lynn needs to eat some salads and help his cardiovascular system. You can't make this shit up. You really can't make this shit up. This happened today. You've got your color analyst talking about diet of starting pitchers.
You notice how he chose to do that when he doesn't have to face Lynn in the clubhouse later on in the day?
Yeah, but
very convenient timing there.
It's interesting. If you have the tinfoil hat theory, wasn't there a discussion between Lance Lynn and Joe McEwing over what cut of steak is the best, filet versus ribeye? And then Stone chooses to go there with he needs to eat a couple salads, mix in a couple salads and help him out on, cardiovascular health. And maybe that'll help him with the pitch clock. Pierzynski, tells everybody, you need to listen to what he actually said. Lynn went out there and said he doesn't have a problem with the pitch clock. We were talking yesterday about, Lance Lynn being cooked. And I want to see, your reaction on that whole thing as well as we sort of close this up here. But just another dumpster fire within the White Sox organization and another embarrassing moment when you've got World Series champions, color analysts going at each other via Twitter in front of your eyes. And that's just not what this team needs.
Literally everything that can go wrong right now is going wrong, to the point where, like you said, you have a color analyst going after players on the radio show when he doesn't have to face them. You have the executive vice president going out making his stupid comments. It's like this team is so devoid. Everyone in this organization is so devoid of public relations know-how. And people, will say, oh, well, that's, Steve Stone is unfiltered. He always just tells it like it is and all this bullshit. I mean, for my money, that's a pretty cowardly fucking move to go on the radio and do that, knowing that he doesn't have to face Lance Lynn. That's some fucking chicken shit right there. I don't know. Maybe Stone can take that chicken shit and turn it into some chicken salad.
I just don't understand, and I will never understand, why we continuously have issues like this within the org. And it's very interesting to me. Pretty sure we've seen AJ Pierzynski come out and talk about Jerry in some positive light. And I also know that Stone and Jerry are close. I wonder if Jerry had to get in the middle of this at all. Because it's got to be embarrassing, right? Your team's getting its ass fucking whooped out there in Toronto. You've got your manager out there, being made into a meme with toilets and flushing and plumbers by Ozzie Guillen on the
I think we've all seen by this point.
Like, how much disorganization can you possibly fucking have?
Anthony,
underneath you. It's amazing. I give the guy credit. It's like, how can you even sleep?
One thing is very clear. He doesn't care. He does not care. If he cared, to make his stupid quotes. Rick Hahn isn't here to talk like a dumbass, lawyer. Chris Gatz doesn't exist in this organization, but he doesn't care. He doesn't. He's proven it time and time again because of loyalty.
And that about wraps up the post-game show. We didn't even talk anything about.
There was nothing to talk about
in this game because, you're correct. There was nothing to talk about. Steve, we've got another baseball game tomorrow. I believe it's a noon start, 1:00 start.
There's no way to get a rain out. There's no way to get a rain out.
No, they got a dome, which is insane, right?
Can Crash Davis get us a rain out?
They talked about the dome there. Maybe they just like somebody in the White Sox organization go and open the dome bring the rain. I don't know, somehow.
Speaking of domes, while we're on the subject of domes here, I don't know if you saw this, and Beckham kind of alluded to this on the broadcast. And I thought this was interesting, and I literally had to go and fire up the Google machine to look at this. Apparently, Salt Lake City is throwing their hat in the ring to try to get one of the expansion teams here, and they released a rendering of a stadium with the Rocky Mountains in the background with no dome.
Bold choice.
I mean, the Rockies, playing Denver, which, my second favorite ballpark, no dome there at Coors Field. But it is certainly a bold strategy. I will say that.
It is. It definitely is. And I did see that they were throwing their hat in the ring on, getting themselves a baseball team. I think a lot of people want to get a baseball team. I don't know if I want a baseball team right now.
I think I would, because it seems like a good way to make money.
No, I'm saying like me personally, like as a fan, I don't know if I want a baseball team.
No. There's no. I feel like there's a lot of people that like for example, if you happen to like the Atlanta Barbs, it seems like you're having a lot of fun.
Once again, I'm talking specifically about me having a baseball team, because this is how we're treated here.
Well, Anthony, we can set up a counseling session for that.
I heard White Sox Dave tried that, and it didn't really solve anything.
Well, listen, David, never mind.
I wonder how he's doing. You should get him back on these airwaves at some point and check in with him. Should try and check in with a couple of the other.
David's not happy, I can tell you that.
There you go. I might have to reach out at some point. Steve, we've got another baseball game tomorrow. Who's on the mound? Is it Kopech? It's Kopech.
Yeah.
Got any hope? Can you spare some hope?
I said this the other day. Basically, I've been just listening to Slipknot's "All Hope Is Gone" a lot lately. That's where we're at. Pretty much sums it up. It's a disaster piece.
I'm back to moments of silence for the White Sox. Man, I'm not even going to give a pick to click for tomorrow.
I went with Poutine today, so we'll
have to see what can work.
Yeah, I don't know. What else is Canada known for other than snow and poutine?
Hockey.
Okay, but is hockey? For a country that says that they're the capital of hockey to, not see the Stanley Cup for 3 decades. I'm just.
Did the Maple Leafs win? I know we're not here, but
it'd be a real shame if they didn't.
Broadcast.
It'd be a real shame if they didn't. You'd hate to see it,
Yeah, no, the Maple Leafs won yesterday, and I heard that they play a game tomorrow. I don't know what Gordon Beckham was talking about on the broadcast, because he said if the Maple Leafs
bacon. Why are you so concerned about bacon?
Nah, whatever. Pick to click from Sale in here. Labatt Blue. There you go. I like that one. Thanks, Sale.
It's a bold strategy. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. I'll tell you this much: Canadian bacon sucks.
Never tried it.
Bad.
You're not a big Canadian bacon guy. Steve,
bad.
Fun breaking this down with you and trying to get through all of this. Thanks you to everybody who tuned in to the post-game show. Not a lot of post-game to talk about, just more state of the White Sox. We'll be back tomorrow to probably recap another loss at this point in time. I hope not. But that's about it. Unfortunately, I'm going to say the words, White Sox forever.
Yeah.